Welcome everybody to Forza Horizon 5, and today we're taking a look at the 2022 Lamborghini Huracán Tecnica. Now this was unveiled in 2022, and this apparently sits between the Evo rear-wheel drive variant and the track-focused STO. Now we don't have the Evo rear-wheel drive version only on this game, we have only the all-wheel drive version, which is still an impressive car, but this apparently has some additional extras over that version. It does also have 2.4 inches in extra length than the Evo, but it's the same height and width, and it does also have 35% more downforce and 20% less drag than the Evo. And yeah, I think it looks pretty good, to be honest. It's not massively different in terms of the overall looks, but there's a few extra design tweaks here and there that I really rather like. I like the new black accenting on the front there. And these new snazzy wheels look really rather excellent, and yeah, it's got a much bigger and more impressive spoiler, I guess you could say, than on the rear than the Evo does, which is a lot more discreet but also doesn't look particularly great. But obviously, like so many other Huracans, this has the same 5.2 litre V10 naturally aspirated engine, which puts out 630 horsepower and 416 pounds-feet of torque, which is pretty much the same as every other Huracan, to be honest. So yeah, no real changes in that regard, but the interior looks nice enough. But again, it is practically the same as every other Huracan out there. Even the track focus STO looks virtually the same, although this, unlike the STO, actually has rear visibility, which is completely blocked off pretty much out on the STO with its shark fin in the middle and all the extra bodywork that it's got going on. So yeah, at least you can see out the rear window in this car. It's also got a boot, although it's not massive or anything like that, but then again, so did the Evo. So yeah, I'm not really sure what the point of this car is, because if you wanted a rear-wheel drive Lamborghini, then get the Evo, especially if you want one that is more road focused. But if you wanted a track focused rear-wheel drive Lamborghini, then get the STO. Not sure where this fits, to be honest. It just feels like, like when Pagani were shoving out every kind of Zonda variant imaginable. It just feels like that. It just feels like it's just another version of a Lamborghini Huracan just to shove out there, to be honest. But still, let's get out onto the open road and see how this car handles. Right, so here we are at the drag strip, so let's see how this car performs in a straight line, and then we'll get it round the track. So actually, despite the all-wheel drive system not being apparent in this car, it's quicker than the Huracan Evo all-wheel drive version in terms of acceleration, and pretty much the same in terms of top speed as well, which is impressive when you consider it's got the same power, although slightly less in the way of torque to deal with, going through only the rear wheels rather than all of the wheels. So yeah, it's impressive that it's quicker than that car in terms of acceleration, but the Evo has more security behind it. It's all-wheel drive. It's never going to really struggle with any of the conditions that you throw at it. So, whereas this rear-wheel drive version, even though it does have more downforce, not quite as confident that it will be able to deal with every situation that you throw at it, because it's only rear-wheel drive, which means that oversteer is a hell of a lot more likely. But it does also reduce the likelihood of understeer, and makes it somewhat more nimble in terms of typical handling. So yeah, we're slap bang in the middle of S1 class, and they're the stats, which are on the whole, in its own right, really rather good. The speed, handling, acceleration, launch and braking are all rather excellent, but if you compare it against the cars that it's a variant of, then you can look at the Huracan Performante, which, as you can see, has more of everything basically, despite only really having slightly more in the way of torque, but also less in the way of weight. Then you've got the Huracan Evo. Again, even though the acceleration is better, the acceleration in the mid-range clout terms and in terms of coming out of corners and the like is better, as well as the launch, although the braking isn't as good and the handling is just as good. So yeah, the Tecnica has one thing over that, the brakes, and then the STO, as you can see, handling is better, acceleration is better, launch is better, braking is far better, but the top speed is slightly worse because it's got a massive rear wing on it. So it's a kind of an amalgamation of the elements that are in the other cars that aren't in those cars, basically. So in a roundabout way, it does have a purpose and a spot in Lamborghini's lineup, but in other ways it doesn't. But nonetheless, let's listen to what it sounds like, and then we'll talk about it some more. So yeah, as a supercar in its own right, it's a fairly good car. There's no doubt about that. It handles really nicely, it's got good turning. Even though it is only rear-wheel drive, the rear end doesn't want to snap out too often. You can feel the downforce working when you're going at a decent rate of speed. It's got good acceleration. It can do 0 to 60 in 2.589 seconds, 0 to 105.6 seconds, and going to a top speed of 202 miles an hour, which is all very impressive. And like every other Huracan, it sounds really nice in terms of its V10 engine. It's nice to see that it's still naturally aspirated, while also not having any hybrid systems working alongside it. But again, I just don't see the point of it. Yes, it's slightly lighter and better braking than the Evo all-wheel drive version we have on this game, as it weighs 21 pounds less at 3,401 pounds. So yeah, it's got better brakes and it's slightly lighter, and the lack of all-wheel drive at the front means that yeah, it does have better turning, but at the end of the day, that car is just better in an all-round kind of way because of the all-wheel drive system offering up good road handling, but also good handling on the track as well, while also being able to deal with all sorts of different kind of conditions. So yeah, it's not a car I hate this, but considering it's part of a car pack and you know we actually have to pay for it to actually get it, I would have preferred a Lamborghini that's a lot different to what we've already got, or at least an older Lamborghini that we've never had before. So yeah, a little bit disappointing when you compare it to its other variants of the Huracan, but it's still a nice enough car to drive. I do like the look of it, as it is slightly different to the previous Huracans. But yeah, when you compare it to the Performante, the Evo and the STO, and it's slightly inferior in some regards, or at least seems slightly pointless in other regards as well. It's better than the standard Huracan that we also have in this game, but so is it all the other variants that we've had as well. So yeah, not entirely sure the point of it, but at least it is a good car in its own right, and yeah, it is a fun car to drive as well, and while it also looks really rather good. So yeah, like I said, this is part of the Italian Exotics car pack. So yeah, we've already taken a look at the Ital Design Da Vinci concept, which is a car I definitely prefer over this, but this is still a solid vehicle in its own right, like I've said. And yeah, I'm sure there's plenty of Lamborghini Huracan fans out there that are pleased to see this added into the game, so all for it for them as well. So yeah, but nonetheless, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.